I recently upgraded my PC and this was the one that I used to work with, which is a bit of an abomination compared to the new one. Though I'll never be able to, upgrade if I didn't have my little war machine of 6 years. And every time that I open it, I had to wait like 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll just eat my breakfast and then come back to it later before I could do anything on it. So I'll be animating today one of my favorite goals from Blue Lock, and it's from Kaiser. And before that, though, I'd like to thank our sponsor for this video. I will be using this tablet to make the animation. When I received the package, like my first thought was, this is massive. They sent me the 165 Hz, 23.8-inch tablet. So this is quite an upgrade for me. And I read that it's common verified, so the color correction is gonna be pretty accurate. Although I mostly use grayscale to work, I'll learn color theory soon. And most of the tablets that I've used were only 60 Hz, so jumping from that to 165 is quite big. And it comes with two pens, one's like a slim version if you like lighter pens. And it also comes with this shortcut remote, which I'm gonna use very soon. You think this will work for games? Though my biggest issue is probably figuring out how this will fit in my setup. I might have to tilt it down a little bit. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the performance of this tablet. It feels very smooth, especially when compared to the old tablets that I've used. So yeah, I'll be using this a lot more now for work and stuff. I start with rough drawings as usual, focusing on the timings that I want for the animation. And I don't limit myself on using only 2s, 3s, or 4s. I kinda just use less frames if I want things to be faster, and just more frames if I want to like hold the pose. So this is what it looks like right now. And since this is pretty much the early stage, I don't really care about the quality of the drawings that much. And what matters most to me is that I give the viewers enough time to register what's happening in the screen. So I watch it over and over and try to figure out if there's some stuff that I need to change or add so that the things that are happening is a lot easier to understand. And after I finished my first work in the industry, I kinda decided to make my lines more cleaner. Cause it's kinda embarrassing when I send them my show reel and it's full of like just the roughs. Cause most of it came from speed battles and I had to send it as soon as possible, so I just compiled everything that I had in my computer, and maybe my PA was just being nice to me and he was like, the dynamic action is amazing and I feel the desire of you wanting to be an action animator or something like that. But I think I did a good job for my first one. Back to the process. So after my rough pass, I do a somewhat clean line art and then add the in-betweens at the same time. This is pretty much gonna be my process now instead of like just doing everything in one layer. So for the rose, I drew a silhouette and then erased some of the parts for it to look like a rose. And then just copy and paste it and resize it, so that way I would have to draw it over and over again. Because I'm kind of too lazy to do that, you know. And then at this point, I was curious what it would look like if I put some grays in. And it looked pretty clean. And I showed it to some of my friends too, and they were like, it would be cool if you could do this for the whole thing. And I was like, bet. And then for this shot, I separated the layer for the shirt and the hair, so that I could easily make it move and put it on a loop so that it doesn't look too boring. Then I try to add shadows and use the colors that they do for Genga because it looks cool. I think it worked pretty well. And when the file got too big, I separated it in different cuts so that my PC could run it smoothly. Because even when I had the old PC, I just put everything in one file and then crash out when things aren't working.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we then chatted for a little bit. Just a little bit. Just catching up. Just trying to force me to teach him how to animate. And kept telling me how he's my biggest fan or whatever. And then from here on, it's just a matter of repeating the process of, you know, doing one rough pass, then clean line art, filling in some colors and doing some shading. And this is one of the things that I think I've improved on, which is drawing some faces. Because before I tried to rush it and sometimes it doesn't even look like the character, but I get away with it depending on what they're wearing. I think that's the case for like the Gojo and Sukuna animation that I did. And I think it's also because I didn't really like looking at references that much. I mean, I still use them, but my first thing isn't to go look for a reference. It's like try to see if I could do it with just my memory first, and then look up the reference and see how far it is, and then just go from there. Which is probably like a bad thing, but I don't know. I just like to, you know, challenge myself or whatever. And one of the things that I also need to improve on is drawing more baggy clothing, because like, most of the stuff that I do is they have almost skin tight type of clothing. That's because I really hate thinking about folds. And since my next animation is gonna be Sakamoto Days, like I can't really get away with it. Yeah, so yeah, I'll have to study it soon. And also, one of my goals for this year is to learn basic 3D animation, which I'm mostly gonna use for background stuff, because I think it'll help me a lot when I integrate those 3D backgrounds with the 2D animation, kind of like how they did it in Attack on Titan. And those scenes with the 3D MG was always pretty cool to me, especially those Levi scenes. That's like one of my biggest inspirations. And try to look up Arifumi Imai Sakuga, man. I mean, you probably know him, but if not, you're kind of missing out. And then once I was on the brink of finishing, I messaged Max again and asked if he could voice Kaiser. He was pretty down with it, and he also offered to do the sound effects too. And I was like, I'd like to do it on my own for now, because I low-key kind of miss adding sound effects. For this part, I tried to make like a POV of Aiku where he follows the movement of the players in the field, but I wasn't really satisfied with it, so I scrapped it and tried to make a new one. And it took me a while because I couldn't figure out how to make it feel like the camera is moving past Kaiser. And it's just a we ball strategy until I get the result that I want. Maybe it's because the first one didn't really have any movement in it, and that's why I opted to do something more dynamic. And I think it worked pretty well. Like, it's a lot better than what it's supposed to be. And at this point, I was kind of getting worried because I still have 2 cuts left, and those are the pretty important ones, so I tried my best to like lock in and finish most of this. And I didn't record the last 2 cuts because, you know, I kind of wanted to be a surprise, and also I didn't want to edit more footage. So it took me over 3 weeks to make this animation, but I think it turned out pretty good. I'm kind of satisfied with it. I was so locked in, I didn't even realize that I wasn't working on full screen. Anyways, the next video is gonna be Gakko versus Naguma, so see ya.
I've been waiting for this moment. Eat shit, losers!